I was born an agent for change. I'm radical in many ways, in that I do understand and prove it every day that each and every person has the ability to be a saint. We are not individual entities separate from nature, but we are part of nature. Everything we do is a learning and an experience that grows us as well. Awareness contains compassion, love, a non-discriminate understanding of we are one. You suffer, I heal, you heal. Food for one should be food for all. Peace is never outside of us. It's first, peace must start within. I've had incredible teachers in my life, spiritual teachers as well as other teachers, and have always been guided. But my greatest guru, so to speak, was ovarian cancer, because it taught me to come back to a place of purpose, a place of my own purpose. And I think, like most young people, I was racing after the American dream. Not most young people, but most Americans, young Americans. I was there studying, and then at a very early and young age became a very well-known fashion designer as well. Hit with cancer, the kind that I was told I had 6 months to live after, many surgeries, many invasive therapies, and I went away and decided I wanted to die with dignity and not with drugs in my body. I didn't embrace death, but I wasn't afraid of it either. And I think that what that did was gave me a better space in which to make my exit, which I thought I was going to do at that time. And then came back from a sojourn. I had taken a secluded time in Vermont in a cabin during winter. It was a ski area, I love snow. And came back 5 months later alive. And what was the process? Did I eat brown rice? Did I live on kale? Did I juice? Did I do veganism? Did I do, no. What I did was I wept my grief, whatever I thought was my ancestral grief, out of me, and asked to meet my maker in a way that had a sense of myself in it. But cancer brought me back to the footsteps of the ancestors. And so I've been walking a journey of service and learning how to become the best servant I can to the work of the divine. I work with a lot of people who are in the crisis of healing, whether through cancer or AIDS or many difficult life-threatening diseases, over 28 years now. So we look at the perishable body that's dying every moment, and we look at our own infinite and infallible divine nature. This work gets us very quickly to our infallible divine nature, so that we use the higher mind, so to speak, as the lens through which we look at our everyday challenges in life. Each and every person has the ability to be a saint. Saint meaning the way of peace, the way of harmony inside. What is a saint? Someone who wear robes or who is out there preaching? Not necessarily. A saint is a person who understands their inner harmony, who understands that the greatest gift we have in our human life, no matter what our ancestries were about and what our privileges or non-privileges are, that the gift is our preservation of inner peace. We're not only part of nature, we are the absolute divine essence of everything. I mean, we are divinity, not altogether alone, but individually as well. And what is the most significant awareness the human person has that bonds us together, that makes us a family, that we can truly say we are one, not only in the multiples of all of us and all of our diversities and tradition, but because spirit is one, that's for sure. Most people forget that. But how can we even say we are one with all of the multiples? What is the stuff that binds us together? What is the content of awareness that is the most thriving force in the human species? Harmony. It's harmony, it's peace, it's ahimsa. Someone is always going to respond to the degree of their awareness. We cannot fault people for doing things, we cannot blame them for being violent, we can only say the heart is not awakened to their awareness, and as soon as something happens that shifts that, that will be a changed person. And so as we gather awareness, as we gather the millions and millions who are now becoming more aware, it helps the one, it helps us all. So we know that many look at 2012 as a time of rebirth, a time of regeneration. Of course, we call it the time of where the world comes to an end, but it's not an end in and of itself. We're really referring to the transformation of time. In the Vedas, my traditional culture is Hinduism, and in the Vedas we look at this yuga as the time of Kali Yuga. And what that means is we have started yet another phase of regeneration where time is spiraling faster, and we can all see that, and even those of us who don't think about it know that we have shorter time in order to do things. But we see this as a time of heightened awareness. Mother Nature herself is lashing out, breaking down, but what we do have to be aware of is that we will see a prescient degree of death and destruction and disaster in this time. It is part and parcel of the rebirth of our world. And what remains and what will happen through that is a development of awareness as well. The awareness of compassion, of community, of collective thought, of which thought. Are we being led by the mind and the senses, which are the false, which are so perception-based reporters? Or are we being led by the greater gift of each of our individual self, which is our awareness? And how do we get to that awareness? How do we let the mind be what the mind is and what the mind does? How do we not become victims and hostages of conditionings, habituations and conditionings that have come down the family turnpike generation after generation after generation, not to mention the other births. And even if you don't believe in rebirth, don't worry about it. We have many more lives to figure it out.
See as the biggest challenges we currently face?
Well, ignorance. Ignorance of our pure nature, of our nature. The challenges are manifold because of the way that we have used our minds, because of the ways that we've been trained to use our minds in all cultures across all countries. What is happening today, though, that's shifting that and making it an easier terrain for awareness to come to the fore, is that a lot of the bankrupt structures of how we rule, how we control, how we manage our societies and our environment is by the mere nature of its dysfunction falling apart. What made us separate from Mother Nature? What gave us the understanding and idea that we are individuals apart from anything else for that matter? We don't need to stand there and fight for justice, because the word fight for justice is an antithesis to justice. We don't need to go and be violent in order to get peace, because the word violence and the action of violence begets violence. We don't need to run in a general mass like a bunch of people without minds and follow something that is the collective vibe of mass mentality any longer, because we are the individual light. Because each one of us have an incredible, huge amount of awareness. And why don't we need to do all these things anymore? Why is there all of a sudden the pressure is off? We don't need to do it. Because the time has changed. Peace is never outside of us. It's first, peace must start within. And each of us have to find that way to do it. And the way is simple. In my own tradition, it is the way of absolute surrender to the divine energy that I am and that you are. It says namaste, means I bow to that which is divine in you, because that which is divine in you is divine in me. And so, namaste and namaste to all.